Hey there, and welcome back to Utility Sports. We do have some more breaking news. This comes just after the Steven Silas news. Now we have Dwane Casey. He's out as the Pistons head coach. Now, the weird thing about this is he's actually making a transitional move into the front office. Troy Weaver ends up keeping him around the facility. This is a move that's rather shocking, in my opinion. I this is not something you generally see when you move on from a head coach, but they are going to probably move him to more of an advisory role rather than an on the court head coach. Now, I think this is kind of interesting in a couple of different ways. The fact that he did not have a ton of success with the Detroit Pistons, holistically speaking. A lot of times when this kind of thing would happen, it would come after a coach has had a lot of success and they're ready to go ahead and move on into the next steps of their career, not doing as much day to day with the team, but rather in a front office advisory role. So this is kind of a peculiar case of them just liking Dwane Casey as an individual, liking his basketball mind, and transitioning him into a role where they think he can be successful. So that is part of the element that is somewhat of a shock to me, in my opinion. Now, collectively speaking, Dwane Casey had some ups and downs with the team. Finished with 121 wins and 263 losses. This is at the point of him being there for a couple of seasons, and once again, they just didn't have the collective talent to win there. So it's kind of tough to say, hey, yeah, a lot of this falls on Dwane Casey. Part of this was a roster construction issue. Part of it was just the product of being in a rebuilding mode, moving on from high priced veterans to more of a youth movement, especially the last couple of seasons. They had a nice foundation. They have Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Jalen Duren. So a lot of those things are factoring into it that the future is very bright in Detroit. Let's not get that twisted. I think this team, collectively speaking, has some of the best collection of young talent in the entire league in terms of what they can be in the next couple of seasons. It's going to take some significant improvement across the board from an actual depth standpoint, but the potential star players could be there. Obviously, with Ivy Duren and Cade Cunningham being a fantastic trio to move forward with. Plus, the draft is coming up, so once again, they will get another foundational piece out of that. Detroit, there are some things to be super pumped about. I know that it's been tough to watch over the last couple of seasons. Reviewing Dwane Casey's time there, his best record, I believe, came in his first season when he went 41-41. But outside of that, they've been rebuilding, and he's had a tough time kind of riding the ship in the correct direction. They've had a little bit of issues with that. Some of that too kind of falls on, the Killian Hayes pick was so monumental in terms of, where they could be here. Killian Hayes definitely had what people were saying as star potential. That has not worked out. That has not panned out. He is very young at this juncture, but it is safe to say with a lot of certainty in my mind that he is not going to turn into a star. Hopefully he ends up being a role player at some point that's playable, that you can really trust with a lot of minutes. But from what we've seen here, he's had some improvement, but not enough to really consider him a part of the long-term franchise future. Once again, I know a lot of people like him, but at the same time, I just don't think he's there. Collectively, this roster is interesting for sure, but I look at this one, Dwane Casey out as the head coach, not super shocking, just considering the record he had, the struggles that they've had as a franchise the last couple of seasons. This is a big one. This is a very, very big domino to fall here. Where will Troy Weaver go with his decision at the head coaching spot? Nice thing is, Woj has provided us a little bit of intel on the league candidates potentially to this point. We got Charles Lee from the Bucks. We have Adrian Griffith from the Raptors. You look at the Heat assistant, Chris Quinn. You have Ime Udoka as well. So there's a lot of guys that are, would be first-time head coaches here. That's super exciting, right? So that could mean a couple of different things. Them being a young, nice, bright young mind could get them a long ways. I think Udoka is probably at the top of this list, as he will be for the Houston Rockets job, in my opinion. But I think he is going to get a job, whether it's Houston or whether it's Detroit. It kind of, I think it's actually honestly going to be on him to go ahead and pick his situation rather than, the teams dictating, yeah, he's probably a second option. I think he's probably a first option for both of these franchises, Houston and Detroit, who are almost in a similar position here. Both have really young players. The last couple of years, they've struggled mightily, but they've been able to accrue so much draft capital that you have an awesome young core of at least 3 or 4 guys that you can trust moving forward. And I think they're very similar in terms of actual trajectory of where they're going, in my opinion. I kind of look at this as an opportunity for Detroit to finally take that next leap, take that next, step in their progression of the rebuild. Detroit fans have gone through a ton so far in the Troy Weaver era, and obviously years before that, Detroit's had a lot of issues. We've seen some progression, but not to the point where Pistons would hope they would be, at that point in the rebuild. But the coaching pool is good. They have a lot of great assistants here that they're going to be interviewing, potentially that could be in the lead. I think when you look at this group as a whole, there's going to be a guy that's a perfect fit here, in my opinion. Things should culminate. It should go in the right direction for them. That they're probably going to make the right decision, in my opinion. I know that's a little tough to say with some of the decisions that have been made with the Detroit organization, but I mean, you look at the last couple in terms of the actual draft picks and what they've done. Detroit is definitely heading in the correct spot. They're doing the right things. Now they need to put it all together and ultimately get that head coach. That is so key in terms of turning around a franchise. You can draft super well. You can do a lot of different things in free agency to improve your team. But one of the best things you can do is bring in a quality head coach that can go ahead and really teach these young guys. And part of the head coaching is also bringing in a staff along with you that can help the development of these guys, really buy into a system. And to me, Detroit is in a good spot here. As a whole, you look at the Detroit Pistons as a destination rather than a dump, actually, at this point, just considering the young talent that they've accrued over the last couple of seasons. Troy Weaver is fully committed here to winning, and he wants to do so. And hopefully they're able to go ahead and do that by adding another potential star in the draft, when that comes around. So a lot of good things, culminating here. I think Dwane Casey was not necessarily fitting the timeline. I think the message got a little bit old with him. He's had some success as a head coach in this league, but at this point, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for Detroit to continue to move on with the guy that I don't think was necessarily moving the needle for his current group of players. I just didn't think he fit the actual timeline years down. I think they're going to look for a younger candidate that it's going to be there, hopefully for at least 10 seasons. That's always the goal. They're always trying to make a long-term decade move when you hire a head coach. So hopefully that is where Detroit can go. Once again, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate all the support on the videos. Hit that subscribe button if you do want to see more NBA content. Also, leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Let me know in the comments section below who you think will be the next head coach of the Detroit Pistons.